Greetings, my peeps, and welcome to the All Things Basketball Podcast with your boy GD. In this episode, my Week 12 recap, all that went on in the NBA, including this ridiculous Charles Barkley, JJ Redick beef. Well, I'll talk about that. And then also Zion Williamson. Haven't talked about him in a while. He got suspended a game. We'll talk about that as well. Also, the second round of All-Star voting. We'll talk about the results of that and more news. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, guys, it's your boy GD back with the All Things Basketball with GD podcast. And guys, we are upon week 13, which means, of course, what else? My week 12 recap. Go through all the things that went on in the NBA for the week of week 12 and just a whole bunch of stuff. So, a lot of news. So, let's get right into it. Let's not delay any further. First, we'll start, as we always do, my players of the week. And in the West, I think this guy's been due for a while. Domantas Sabonis of the Sacramento Kings. His Kings went 3-0 for the week. They beat Miami. They went on the road and beat Boston, of all teams. And then the Chicago game. I'll talk more about the Chicago game because it had some going back home implications. So I'll talk about that. But Domantas Sabonis had a heck of a week, guys. He averaged 22 points, over 20 rebounds he averaged for the week. And over 7 assists. Shot at nearly 61% from the field. Didn't take a lot of threes. He only took 8 for the week. And I prefer a guy who, he doesn't take a high volume of threes, but he takes timely threes. And actually, he went 6 for 8 from 3-point range. So I'll definitely take that from my center, my big man. Shooting just 8 threes for the week and making 6. I can live with that. Sure. And then from the free throw line, out of 13 attempts, he did miss 3, which, that's fine. But his team went 3-0 for the week. Had a triple-double against Miami. He had that huge game against the Celtics where he had 23 points, 28 rebounds. Good gracious. And then he had the nice game against Chicago. So Domantas Sabonis, a guy I thought a few weeks ago he could have won it, but here it is. He wins it for the Sacramento Kings, who, oh, by the way, they're playing much better now under Doug Christie. So Doug Christie's doing a good job over there thus far. We'll see how it goes with him. But is this a turning of the tide for Sacramento? We'll see. And then for the East, how about Darius Garland, guys, of the Cleveland Cavaliers? He averaged 26 points per game and almost 8 assists. Shot it great from the field, about 53% under that. He took 22 threes, hit 9 of those, and he was nearly perfect from the line. Out of 14 times, he missed once. His team went 2-1 for the week. They did beat OKC in that big game. I'll talk about that later as well. But it was the Toronto game that really was an eye-popper. That game was without, by the way, it was without Donovan Mitchell. He didn't play. So Darius Garland, what he does, just drops a 40-piece, and along with that, 9 assists to win that game. But they did lose at home to the Indiana Pacers, so there's that. But Darius Garland, claiming Player of the Week. I think earlier, Donovan Mitchell won Player of the Week for Cleveland. So Cleveland Cavaliers, you got a bevy of guys over there that can get it done. So Darius Garland, your Player of the Week for the East. All right, guys. So with that said, let's get into these top stories. The number one story for me, guys, is the what's happening over there in California, in the LA County regions like the Palisades, Hertz, Eaton, Kenneth, and Lydia, and those areas there where the wildfires are, raging over there, which is unfortunate. Of course, prayers are up for the families over there that's dealing with, you know, loss of life, loss of property, loss of home, all of that. Just want to send prayers and well wishes to, well, not well wishes, but prayers, and definitely thinking of those folks on the in that area there that's dealing with that. And then, of course, that has a impact on games being played in that area. You have the two LA teams, both the LA Lakers and the LA Clippers. The Clippers, they canceled one of their games. That is on January 11th. They were supposed to play the Charlotte Hornets. That got canceled. And then Lakers canceled two of their games. One against the Hornets on the January 9th, and then on January 11th. So I guess they were going to do a double header. The Lakers were to play the San Antonio Spurs. Actually, they do play them Monday, January 13th, which happens to be today of this recording. So you had those games being canceled, but they made it known as of Monday, which is today, they will be resuming playing games at the Crypto Center over there. So it looks like they're back up and running at the stadium. So, of course, again, we send our prayers, our heartfelt thoughts to those that's suffering and going through over there. So, with that said, let us continue on. I didn't really want to talk about this, but it's raged out of control. So, it's the Charles Barkley and JJ Redick beef. And now, both of them have been in the media. So, well, one is still in the media. That's Charles Barkley. But JJ Redick, before coaching the Celtics, he was a part of ESPN and the monstrosity that it is over there. He even had a role as on the A team as far as broadcasting games. Him along with Doris Burke and of course the Hall of Famer Mike Breen doing those games. He also made appearances on First Take, doing analyst work there as well. So JJ is one who's been in that media space. So with that said, JJ Redick, he goes and in an interview, looks like his pre-game interview, he voiced how folks in the media have been trashing the league and the low ratings and so forth. I want to play you the sound. I have several clips here to place for us to chew on. So I will first play you the criticism that JJ Redick had. So listen to this, guys.
I think we as, and by we, I was part of it, we as the sort of national partners have just done a good job of storytelling, of celebrating the game. If I'm a casual fan and you tell me every time I turn on the television that the product sucks, well, I'm not going to watch the product. And that's really what has happened over the last 10 to 15 years. I don't know why. It's not funny to me. Nothing is entertaining to me. This game should be celebrated. I've watched the league evolve. I'm in this league right now. I can tell you without fact, or with fact, that the league is more talented. and not just raw talent. The league is more talented and skilled than it was 18 years ago when I was young. That's a fact. There are more players that are excellent. There are more teams that are excellent. I heard when I played for, 4 or 5 years, well, why don't you even play the regular season? We know who's going to be in the finals. Well, guess what? We have parity now. And we're not celebrating parity. We're not celebrating the fact that the Western Conference is as loaded as it is. We're playing a Sacramento team tonight that's incredible, with incredible talent, and they've got a losing record. It's not because they're a bad basketball team. I don't know. We don't have anybody that's willing to step up to the fact that this is an awesome game and we should talk about it and celebrate it in a positive way. That doesn't mean we don't critique it. We should critique it, but we should celebrate it. Nobody's doing that. And the people that are have a small niche following on Twitter. And frankly, I would argue as well that everyone in our ecosystem pays too much attention to what is said on Twitter. And part of this whole ratings discussion is because people on Twitter are talking about it.
So that's what he had to say. In terms of that, what you just heard, I'll say I agree that the NBA, of course, their games are broadcast on TNT. So you would like for those that's covering the game to not have rose-colored glasses to say everything is beautiful and perfect. I guess, let me hold on to that, what I was going to say there, because I'll save it for when we hear Barkley and what he has to say. But I think there's a space where you can be critical of the game and yet not trash the game. So I think, but that's a fine line and you have to be able to walk it. Do some of these guys walk it perfectly? Absolutely not. So I am in agreement with him. Not that everything should be flowery about the league, because the league has flaws. We've talked about the three-point shot. I've talked about the low ratings in the past and the three-point shot, how it's beyond the pale. And I blame that on the coaching staff, because that's what they want these players to do, is go out there hoisting threes. So there's that. And I do agree, if you were looking at the Twitterverse, they'll have you thinking that the NBA is the worst thing that's ever been produced. And my whole thing is Twitter has changed as of lately. So I think there's actually an insidious part of why people are trashing the NBA. But I'll say that possibly for the end. Hopefully I don't forget. So that's JJ Redick, what he had to say. This is now, you notice JJ Redick, he didn't name names, he didn't point out networks and so forth, because you can say it about, you have some people on ESPN. I don't know if they're trashing it to the extent of those guys on inside the NBA, but nonetheless, here's Charles Barkley with his sensitive self reacting to what you just heard from JJ Redick. I guess somebody else, Jason Moreau, spoke to it as well. So here's the sound from Barkley on ESPN. I mean, on TNT inside the NBA.
Some idiot named Jason Monroe said something about him. I heard JJ Redick said something about me. JJ, you better calm down, because when you come for the King, you better not.
Did he name you specifically, or was he just talking about folks on TV?
He said something about we're the reason people ain't watching this crappy product we got. JJ, yeah, like we out there jacking up 103 tonight. JJ, I don't know Jason Monroe. I don't know who that is, but JJ, you come for the King, you better not miss. Cause I can get you, brother. Cause I got the Lakers games. You can't hide them flaws they got. You're just a dead man walking. They got rid of Frank Vogel, who did a good job. They got rid of Darvin Ham, who did a good job. You came out there thinking you were going to change things with that same ugly girl you went on the date with.
64-51 was your halftime score. Let's get back to the highlights. And Rudy Gobert.
He came in there thinking, I can make this thing work. Hell, you can. 70 makeup on that pig. The Lakers stink, man. Oh, man, okay. Come on, man.
Tatum, by the way, has 36
What you said? Put some makeup on that pig. I'm JJ Redick. I can make this thing work. Please. Nico, please.
Josh, line up right there.
So that's the sound of Barkley's response. And of course, the line that if you come for the King, you better not miss, of course, that refers to a line in the wire. So there's that. But Charles Barkley, he's beloved because of his honesty, because of, he's just beloved by many in that regard. I could take his stick with a grain of salt. But he's hypersensitive about what JJ Redick said, and this is his reaction to it. I don't know what the girlfriend thing was about, but and then he talked about the sort of the graveyard of Laker coaches who've crashed and burned, and the blame game was put upon them, and in their wake, they were discarded. But what I'll say is Barkley, he's doing it to get laughs and to get reaction from his fellow studio analysts over there, but to me he's hypersensitive, and he's he has a disdain for the Lakers anyway. I'll speak about that later. I could do it now because there's a critique he has when he critiques the Lakers after that loss to Dallas. I'll talk about that in a minute, where he hates the fact that they have to talk about the Lakers because there's a media infatuation with the Lakers, kind of in a similar vein of in the NFL. There's this media clamor for the Dallas Cowboys, good, bad, or indifferent. There's this clamor for them. I think it's the Skip Bayless effect, if you will. But so the same thing applies in the NBA. Boston's not really talked about as much in that regard, but the Lakers, yes, the media is just fall over themselves about the Lakers. So he's had enough of it in that regard. So that's Barkley's reaction. Now I will play one more bit of sound, and then I'll opine as far as this whole thing goes. So here is JJ Redick responding to Barkley's response.
We think we as, and by we, I was part of it, we as the sort of...
Oh, wait. That's the wrong sound.
The sphere and how the game is covered. Did you hear that? I assume you did, based on.
I read a text from somebody after the game. I went to look at my phone. It says something about Charles Barkley. And I'm like, huh? But Greg and both showed me. I didn't make it all the way through the clip. I got to be honest with you. My resting heart rate is probably probably 64. I watched the clip. It was 64. Literally don't care. I have other thoughts, but don't care.
Okay, so that is JJ Redick in response. So I think he does care. I just think, he has to put on the brave face as far as that goes. But I think he does kind of care because remember, this is inside the NBA. They're one of the top shows in terms of in studio shows. They are the standard. So there's that. And then with JJ Redick, I do have to chide him for this reason. When he was in the media space, he had a habit of ripping the players from the past. He called them janitors and plumbers that some of the star players used to play against. And then he had this to say about Cousy. Bob Cousy couldn't go left. So, a whole bunch of players from the past jumped him. Guys like Jerry West, guys like Dominique Wilkins, guys just went after JJ Redick for those ill-timed comments. So to me, this is kind of the chickens coming home to roost. So now you're in the space where you're a head coach in the league now, and all eyes are on you, especially because you're coaching the Laker team. So all eyes are on you. So this is kind of your, some will call it karma. Take that with that what you will, but and you heard it in the clip. He talked about more athleticism today than in the past. He said in the past 18 years, which I'm kind of surprised about. But so JJ Redick, you're kind of getting a taste of your own medicine, so to speak. But he's a big boy; he can handle it. And what I say about JJ Redick all the time. He's a guy very much heavy into analytics. He's a guy who, I say this constantly, he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. So, and that seems to work for him, and that's okay. So, but here's what I will say on a note outside of basketball. I talked about the wildfires and so forth. His home actually got destroyed in those fires. So we definitely want to send a bit of, also prayers and thoughts to him and his family as they deal with the aftermath of that. So there's that. Now to Barkley. We know honesty, his hallmark. That's what a lot of these shows bring him on for him to say that. He's come on the Dan Patrick show talking about these things. He's come on First Take, actually, talking to Stephen A. Smith. He's went on. Here's a show that I recommend to you guys if you really want to hear the fine points of basketball, the Mark Jackson Show. If you get a chance, watch that show. Isaiah Thomas has been on there. I saw Stephon Marbury's recently has been on there. Barkley was on there as well. They do a great job. It's Mark Jackson and his son who does the show. They do an amazing job. Patrick Ewing was on that show too, by the way. So if you ever need a podcast to listen to and you got time, Mark Jackson Show, check it out. But he's come on different, platforms and so forth, talking about this stuff. And then too, you had Kendrick Perkins, who was had beef with Barkley. Not over all the things that he said per se, but when he talked about the Lakers and, he talked about LeBron and AD and the rest of those bums. That's where Kendrick Perkins took exception to, which I agree. you know, there's only 450 spots in this league, so you kind of everybody in this league can give it to you. Can give it to the average person, you know. So for us to call them bums, I think that's a bit much. And Richard Jefferson, I never thought in a million years me and him is on the same page with something. And this is what Richard Jefferson had to say. He said, you know, there's nothing wrong with critiquing the game and so forth, but if you're on these shows here, you're really on there to promote the game. You are. You basically are on these studio shows. People come to these studio shows expecting to hear expertise and so forth, but they come as a fan ready to receive the game. When you're telling them that the product is trash, that's not helping the game. So I am in lockstep with Richard Jefferson. Again, I think that'll happen in a million years, but he's right. So here's what I'll say in the final analysis. I think there's a fine line between critique and just plain meanness and just going to a place you don't need to go. I think the Inside the NBA show, well, particularly Barkley, sometimes Shaq, he could go there too. They straddle that line. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. Huh? I'm gonna leave that alone. So that is my take on the Barkley Redick beef. So let us continue on. Zion Williamson, I haven't talked about him in a while, guys. He made his return to the lineup on January 7th. He had missed 27 games with that hamstring injury. And you know, Zion Williamson, he has a laundry list of injuries and a history that's as long as my arm, maybe both arms. But so he comes back on January 7th. He comes back in a loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves. In that game, he drops 22 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. Then, being that this is a home game, their next game they have to travel to Philadelphia to play the 76ers. He misses the plane, guys, and thus gets suspended a game. So he misses that Sixers game. So they suspend him for violating team policy. So basically, him missing the plane, he gets suspended. So of course, that leads a lot of folks to have their say about it. And I just heard today Stephen A. Smith and Unc Shannon Sharp, they talked about it on the show. And this is the first thing Stephen A. says. It better not be about food. So here we are again, fat shaming Zion. And then Shannon Sharp, he joins in with it, and I watched Nightcap where he talked about it there as well. And he said he doesn't need a change of scenery, he needs a change of eatery. So again, talking about the food he consumes and so forth. And he did a whole segment that Zion doesn't care, you know, and all these things. I think that's a bit strong. I think the kid cares, but his body betrays him. Could it be because of his diet? Possibly, but I think he's a kid. I think he wants to play. I just think you know something. I just think the bloom is off the rose as far as his time in New Orleans. I think it's time for them to bite down hard and make that move and deal him. So that leads me to ask the question, does he get traded at the trade deadline? And if so, where would you send him? I think for both sides' sake, this needs to happen. I have 4 destinations that I think he could end up. Let me start from the least to the most likely. Portland can be a possibility. You probably have to do, in order to make the money right, you would have to send Javonte Green, but in return you would get Jeremy Grant, which fine forward, he can play both forward positions, a fine addition for the New Orleans Pelicans. He's getting a ton of money. And then the second player, Robert Williams III, because I think he's a luxury now. You got DeAndre Ayton still there. You got the rookie Donovan Klingen. So you have him there. So I think Robert Williams III is like an embarrassment of riches. So you send him over there. Now the Pelicans got them a forward who can play both positions, whether it be power forward or small forward. And you got yourself a big man because you do have the kid Eve Misi right now, but he's been sporadic. So you bring in a Robert Williams III, provided he's healthy, because he's a player who has health issues. So I think you bring in those two guys, you kind of do it. So will Portland do this and bring a Zion Williamson there? I don't know. But I just put that out there as a possibility. Then a team, I don't think they'll do it though, because I think they're rolling right now. I was just talking about them, in fact, the Sacramento Kings. You could pull it off with the Kings. You probably have to give up a Kyle Kuzma, probably a Keegan Murray. I don't know if they're going to want to give up all that because you got to make the salaries work, and then possibly some draft picks. That'd be a nice haul for the Pelicans, but I don't know if Sacramento does it. Right now, they seem to be rolling out Doug Christie. Now, to make that kind of move on him will probably be a bit much. I think he's just getting his feet under him as far as coaching goes, so I don't see it happening. So I'm kind of eliminating that one. Then it comes down to two. The Washington Wizards. This is a place where Zion can go there. He can kind of be the guy there, along with Jordan Poole. You got the young big and Alex Sarr. I think he can play off of Alex Sarr. So that's a possibility. Now, it would probably take you giving up Kyle Kuzma. You could probably include Kyle Kuzma and Marvin Bagley the third or the second, and some draft picks. I think that could get it done for Washington. Will Washington do that deal? I don't see why not. They're in the doldrums now, so maybe the little shakeup is probably something you can use. So you have that. My number one team, and I heard Kevin Garnett mention this, the Brooklyn Nets, who needs some kind of box office player there. Because right now, you have Cam Thomas, who's probably your prime time player there. They just got D'Angelo Russell back there, so you got him in the fold. You got other players there like Cam Johnson. So Nick Claxton as well. Probably to get him, it'll just cost you the contract of Bogan Bogdanovic, his contract, the Anthony Milton, who's out for the season, but you could throw his contract in there because it's only 1 year. It'll fall off the books along with Bogdanovic's contract. Noah Clowney. You can add him in the mix. This way, the Pelicans are getting them a young big in return. It's probably some draft picks to make it work. So I say that could be a possibility, but you're going to have to give up a big contract. Would they do it straight up for Ben Simmons? They could possibly do that. Both guys have injury history, so you could do an even swap there and be done with it. Maybe to make the money work, because believe it or not, Ben Simmons is making more money than Zion Williamson. Go figure. But he is on the last year of his deal, so that would be a benefit for the Pelicans because that money will drop off and then they can use it towards free agency or whatever they want to do with it. So you have that. So those are my four possibilities. Sacramento Kings, I'm not gung ho on as I initially was, but I say three of those teams are good possibilities for Zion. I don't think he goes to a winning situation. I think it's somewhere where he can kind of be the guy. He can kind of fade into the background, and there's not the undue pressure of him being in New Orleans. So there's that. All right, so we're done with that. Let us move on. The second round of voting, guys, in the All-Star for the All-Star game. Again, the format, they changed it, so they're still going with the top three front court players and then your two guards in each of the conferences. So let's start with the West front court. Right now, you have the Joker. He's number one, followed by Kevin Durant, not too far behind him. And then in third, you have LeBron James at just under two, right around 1.9 million or so. Actually, he's about 2,000 behind Kevin Durant. But in fourth place and coming on strong, guys, is Victor Wembanyama, who has leapfrogged over Anthony Davis, who's fifth now. So again, you're going to have another round coming this Thursday, and then the following Thursday is when you'll get the final results in. And remember, the last day is on January 20th, guys. And also remember those days where your one vote counts three times. Those are on the 17th and the 20th. So you have 2 more days to have those 3-for-1 days. So there's that, guys. So that's your front court as far as that goes. So I think, again, it's a 5-horse race as far as that goes. I think any of these 5 can end up being amongst the top 3. And then remember, too, there's also other criteria outside of the fan vote. There's the player vote, and I think there's the media vote as well. So it's like 3 criteria. So the fan voting is a part of it, in which you got to take into consideration. So there's that. The West Guards, guys, I think that is probably a 3-horse race. First, you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way with 1.8 million over that. Next is Steph with 1.36 million. And then in third, you got Luka 1.34 million. So I think it fluctuates back and forth between Luka and Steph. I don't think any of them overtake Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'd be very surprised if that happened, but so far so good. The next nearest person is Kyrie, and he's about 600,000 behind Luka, so that'll be a tough hill to climb. So that's your West Guards. Your East front court. Right now, Giannis is the leading vote getter amongst all the votes at 2.72 million. Next is Jason Tatum, 2.22 million. And then Karl Anthony Towns, 1.87 million. I think that's going to probably stay your front court. Paolo Banchero is under a million at 788,000. So I don't think he climbs up the ladder that far to get near those 3 guys. So I think the front court for the East is pretty much set, I think. And then in your backcourt, still LaMelo Ball, he's ahead, guys, 1.49 million. And then you have Donovan Mitchell, 1.18 million. Damian Lillard, 1.01 million. And then Jalen Brunson, 934,000. So he's kind of making some gains here and there. Again, Knick fans, get out there and vote for your guy. I don't want to hear the nonsense. Oh, they wronged him, this and that. You have the power in your hands to go vote. Go vote. You can vote every day if you have to. Remember those days I told you, January 17th and January 20th, where the vote counts 3 times. So go out there and vote for Jalen. If you want him in the starting lineup, go vote for the guy. So there's that. So I think it could be any of these 4 guys. But the Knicks fans going to have to put a rush on the ballot box to get Jalen Brunson up there, guys. So we'll see what happens there. So, all right. So that is your all-star voting. Let's continue on. DeMar DeRozan. He returns back to Chicago, guys, on January 12th. And a team where his Sacramento Kings, they won the game. They won that game for DeMar DeRozan, a game in which he had 21 points and 3 rebounds in that game. But the story of the game, player of the week, Domantas Sabonis, who had 24 points, 15 rebounds, and 8 assists in that game. DeMar DeRozan spent 3 seasons with Chicago. That first season was off the chain, guys. He averaged in his 3 seasons 25.5 points per game. That's his highest per average with a team. So his highest scoring average he had with the Chicago Bulls. 5 assists, nearly 5 rebounds, over a steal per game. He was a 2-time All-Star with the Chicago Bulls, and he made All NBA second team in that first season with Chicago. So DeMar DeRozan, and they gave him a nice warm welcome. Very nice of them to do that. But DeMar DeRozan makes his return there, and his team gets the win in Chicago. All right, guys, so let us move on. Now, I talked about those games in LA being canceled for the wildfires, but there was also a third game that was canceled on January 11th. It was a game between the Atlanta Hawks and the Houston Rockets in Atlanta, but it got postponed for, get this, snow and ice conditions in Atlanta. Unbelievable. So at the State Farm Arena, they couldn't get it going. So they canceled the game, guys. So, and again, that was the third cancellation for that Saturday, January 11th. They'll reschedule it at a later date, so we'll see what happens there. But the Atlanta Hawks, their game at home against the Houston Rockets, canceled due to snow and ice conditions. Wow. So there's that. All right, so let us move on. Your top team in the leagues, they did battle this week, guys. On January 8th, the Cleveland Cavaliers hosted the Oklahoma City Thunder. The top team in the West played the top team in the East. And in that game, it was a tight game, guys. After 3 quarters, Cleveland was up by 103 to 102, but in the end, Cleveland prevails, guys. 129 to 122 was your final. In that game, Jarrett Allen went absolutely nuts. 25 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists for him. Wow. And 3 steals in the game for Jarrett Allen. So nice game for him, a double-double. Evan Mobley, I've been talking about him, guys. 21 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists for him. So your two bigs give you 13 assists. That's great numbers, guys. And actually, this is a game where Donovan Mitchell didn't have such a great game, guys. He only had 11 points. He shot at 3 for 16. Man. But he was 2 for 7, so which means he was 1 for 11 from the field outside of 3. Wow. A very unlike Donovan game, but his team got the win, guys, so there's that. And then on the losing side, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has a heck of a game, 31 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks for him. Jalen Williams, nice game for him, 25 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds. And then a double-double for Isaiah Hartenstein with 18 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists for him. And that was a game I wanted to watch, guys, but I was locked in to my Knicks. I probably should have let that game go because it ended up being a blowout. The Knicks blow out Toronto at MSG. And I think the score was 140 to 106, so I definitely could have turned it off and switched over. Karl Anthony Towns in that game, 27 points, 13 rebounds, so a double-double for him. OG Anunoby also with 27 points in that game. So, all right, guys, so let us move on. Let's talk injuries, guys. It's been confirmed that rookie Jared McCain for the Philadelphia 76ers, he's going to be out for the season, guys, with that after that successful surgery on his knee that he had on December 17th. They reevaluated him and said, yeah, he can't go. So the promising young rookie out for the season. So we wish speedy recovery for the kid who was looking very good. But you know, he got hurt, and that's the way that goes. So all the best to Jared McCain as he rests and heals. Herb Jones for the New Orleans Pelicans. You talk about a team that can't catch a break as far as injuries go. Man, they've been through it. Herb Jones out indefinitely, guys, with a shoulder tear. And guys, this is the same shoulder that kept him out, missing 18 games earlier in this season. So he injures this one. He's out indefinitely for now. So they'll reevaluate him. They'll see what's what. But another crushing blow for the New Orleans Pelicans. They just can't catch a break, guys. Well, they do have Zion back healthy for the most part, but you still have Brandon Ingram that's out. So we'll see what's what with that. But Herb Jones out indefinitely. Goga Bitazde for the Orlando Magic. He leads the game on January 12th. He leads the game in the second quarter with a hip contusion, guys. Diagnosis to be determined, so we'll see what happens there. But they did get the win in that game. But Goga Bitazde, he may be missing some time, guys. So we keep an eye out for that. Also on the same day, Tyrese Haliburton, guys. He pulls his hamstring, guys. Guys, he has a history of hamstring issues. This is just another one. And he does it in the first half of a win at Cleveland. And his diagnosis is to be determined. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully in the coming days, we'll find out what's what with Tyrese Haliburton. A couple of returns, guys. Paolo Banchero, he makes his return back to the lineup. He last appeared in the game October 30th, and he makes his return after that oblique strain that he had, and he does it in a January 10th loss to Milwaukee at home, by the way. So, and I'll give you the numbers for that game in a little bit. but Paolo Banchero back for the Orlando Magic, and not a moment too soon because they need him. And then Aaron Gordon, after missing 9 games with the calf strain, he returns to the lineup in a January 12th game at Dallas. He plays only 18 minutes off the bench, 13 points and 6 rebounds. And, oh, by the way, they won that game. So there's that. So, with that said, guys, let us move on. Top performances. Whoa, we're running kind of late, guys. So I'm just going to give you a few of these and then we'll be done. Nikola Jokic and Russell Westbrook make history, guys. They both drop a double-double in a game against the Brooklyn Nets on January 10th. They are the first pair to record a 25 or more point triple-double in the same game. Nikola Jokic, 35 points, 15 assists, 12 rebounds. And then Russell Westbrook, 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists for him. And also, they become the first pair to record triple-doubles in multiple games in a season. So, history is being made with these two guys. And kudos to Russell Westbrook, who's really fitting in there with the Denver Nuggets. I was listening to the Hoop Collective today with the guys on there, Brian Windhorst, Tim McMahon, and Tim Bontemps. And Bontemps, he was ripping, well, I don't want to say ripping Westbrook, but he's basically saying, you know, you're using these minutes on Westbrook, you should be using on Christian Brown instead. You know, he's the younger player. He's, you know, he needs his confidence boosted. But the numbers don't lie, guys. When Russell is in there in that start lineup, they're 13-3. So, you know, Mike Malone, he's got to play with the cards he's given. I understand. I get it. You know, Christian Brown coming off the bench is probably your better option than having Russell come off the bench, although Russell has done it in the past as well. But it seems like he plays well off of Nikola Jokic. And, you know, the knock on Russ was, oh, Russell, he can't play with another ball-dominant guy. Not true, because he's getting it done over here, guys. And, you know, that was the knock when he was in L.A. And, you know, a lot of the blame was put on Russell Westbrook and so forth. So, but it looks like he's able to do his thing with a ball-dominant center. So that puts that theory to bed. But Russell Westbrook and Nikola Jokic making history, guys. Let us continue. Trae Young, in a game where he has 24 points and 20 assists, but in those 24 points, a game-winning 49-foot shot. It was just behind the mid-court line, and he sinks it, guys. Man. In a 124 to 121 game. Now, here's the sequence. Actually, Atlanta was up by 3, 121-118. And then Utah, it's against Utah Jazz. Utah inbounds the ball. They almost steal it. Dyson Daniels almost steal it. But it bounces off. It goes into the hands of Colin Sexton. And he steps back, knocks down a 3. He ties the game, guys, with 2.9 seconds left. Atlanta inbounds it, falls in Trae Young's hands, and he just heaves it and it goes in. Good gracious. And they get the win in that game. What a game, I tell you. But Trae Young sending the Utah faithful home, busted and disgusted, guys. And and you saw the fan reaction. A lot of hands on head, a lot of, oh, they can't believe it. But yeah, so Trae Young becomes a villain in the state of Utah. Go figure. What else is going on? Jalen Brunson with a 44-point masterpiece, and he has that on Sunday, January 12th, in a blowout win against the Milwaukee Bucks. Nice game for him. He has, of those 44, 5 threes. Add to that 6 assists, 5 rebounds in the game. And this is a game where he spent 6 minutes in the locker room, guys, with a injury. They didn't disclose it, but he comes back out and he does his thing against the Milwaukee Bucks. 44 points, guys, in that blowout win. A game where Karl Anthony Towns, he does his thing, 30 points, 18 rebounds, 4 assists. A double-double for Josh Hart, 11 points, 11 rebounds. And then leading the way for the Bucks, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 24 points, 13 rebounds for him. And 2 nights earlier, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he drops a 41-point game, along with 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, in a win at the Orlando Magic. Actually, that's the game where Paolo Banchero, he returns to the lineup. And also in that game, Damian Lillard, 29 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals. And Paolo Banchero, in his first game back, 34 points. Wow. Along with 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals in that game. And then a double-double for the rookie, Tristan De Silva, 16 points, 10 rebounds. So, yeah, that is it. That's all that I'll talk about. Cade Cunningham, he has a triple-double in a January 11th win at Toronto. Cade Cunningham, he has to be considered as an all-star. He's playing all-star basketball this year. So there's that. All right, so we leave that there. A couple more things, then we're done. Anthony Edwards, we're talking fines now. Fine yet again, guys. $50,000 for an obscene gesture towards the ref. I saw the play and I was like, huh? So in the game, Rudy Gobert, he comes down, he has a left-handed dunk in the game. He dunks over a guy. And this is against the Memphis Grizzlies. And basically, from what I saw, Anthony Edwards started flexing. And I don't know if he was flexing towards the ref or whatever it was. Whatever the case, he gets teed up. And then Joe Dumars and the powers that be looks at the tape and says, okay, Anthony Edwards, we got to hit you yet again. Mind you, he was fined 3 times in the month of December. So another fine for Anthony Edwards. He seems like he's a regular as far as this goes. So we're early in January, so let's see what else other fines he gets. We'll see. So there's that. Prime Video for their NBA show next season, guys, for the 2025-26 season. This is who will be on their studio show. Taylor Rooks, she'll be the Ernie Johnson of the studio show. She'll be the traffic cop, along with Blake Griffin and Dirk Nowitzki. Blake Griffin played 15 years in the league, drafted by the LA Clippers. Of course, they was part of that high-flying show over there. And then Dirk Nowitzki, Hall of Famer, all the things, played his entire career with Dallas. He will be an analyst in studio. So Prime Video's getting set for next season, all the changes that's happening. So So you have their studio show there. Before I do my big five, shout out to Cooper Flagg, guys, of the University of Duke. Didn't really talk college basketball as of yet, guys. But Cooper Flagg, a lot of people touting him as the number one pick if he comes out in the draft. He's been highly scrutinized. He dropped 42 points in a game. Actually, he actually does this in a win versus Notre Dame, guys. So the 42 points is a ACC freshman record, and the first North Carolina player to drop over 40 points since Tyler Hansbrough, and the second player, gosh, drawing blank on the second player. Yeah, so I know Tyler Hansbrough was one of them. So Cooper Flagg, balling for the Dukies. And then last, your big five. Not much changed at the top, guys. It's still your first team is Cleveland Cavaliers, followed by the Oklahoma City Thunder, followed by the Boston Celtics. Then there's a change between 4 and 5 for the Houston Rockets at 25 and 12. The reason I put them ahead of the Knicks, who's at 5, the Knicks have one more win, but 2 more losses. But the Houston Rockets playing well, guys. You know, Ime Udoka, he's doing this thing over there with those guys. And then the New York Knicks, you know the story that's going on over there. They didn't have that great a week. They did end it on a bang by beating the Milwaukee Bucks, but the New York Knicks looking good in New York. So there's that. All right, guys. So that is it. All things basketball with GD.com is the website. There, all my episodes, videos, my support buttons, guys. Support the show and what we do here. You can do it through Spotify. You can do it by buy me a coffee. You can do it through my PayPal as well. My Cash App is right there. $GD, that sports dude. You can catch it there. Also, guys, on all the podcast platforms, I'm there as well. Apple, like the videos. Give reviews as well. 5 stars, guys. YouTube, I'm there as well. Of course, with my full videos and my shorts as well. Social media, TikTok, while it's still breathing, I'm still doing my shorts there for now. Also, IG, I'm on there heavy. I'm waiting to see the changes that may end up happening. I don't know what I'm going to do as far as social media go. Blue Sky, I'm there. Twitter, I'm not. Facebook, I'm about to be over and done with that. So, yeah, it is what it is, guys. You got to do what you can to survive. So, all right, guys. So, with that said, I thank you for listening as always. Your listenership is important to what we do in the show. All right. With that said, thank you for listening once again. Deuces.